Well, as we enter into the holiday week, it sounds like an active weather pattern is in store and plenty of cold weather for many parts of the country. Let's talk about it. Joining us for a conversation this week for our weekly weather update, of course, Eric Snodgrass with Conduit joins us here on the show. Eric, thanks again for being with us here this week. An early happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. And let's just start too. We didn't cover this much last week, but your new role with Conduit. Tell us a little bit more about the company and some of the things that you guys are doing there, Eric.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I made the switch to Conduit was that I was excited about where they're trying to take ag in the future. And what I really like about it is, they're trying to build a platform that just allows for fast and efficient transactions. And the other really cool thing that we're doing right now, in addition to being able to purchase a whole ton of inputs, is we got a 0% financing offer that's going on right now for the year 2025. And it's basically with the financial backing that they have, they were able to put that out there as just a, hey, here we are, this is what we're up to. And it's pretty awesome. And so I'm excited about it. They're allowing me a lot of freedom to do some pretty amazing things with respect to weather risk. And I think the company is really just pushing the envelope on where I think, ag as a sector is going to be moving in terms of maybe the retail space over time and also the ag lending space. So we're backed by some great folks, and I'm pretty excited to be able to be a part of this. So, hey, we're running some pretty sweet deals this week. It's Cyber Week, right? It's that week of where everybody they're like, hey, let's get in on this and let's get out there and just get our name out. And so there's some pretty sweet deals out there, and I think that are incredibly competitive across the market. So conduit.ag, go check it out. It's a great place to go to get information.
Well, and I appreciate that as well. Thanks for sharing that with folks. And I know the team there, you and Matt Karsten's great guy, and everyone there involved with Conduit. Again, conduit.ag for more information. Excited to see, especially too, the weather things that you do with them moving forward here. Let's talk about the weather. And I'll sum this up this way, and then I'll wind you up and let you go here. It sounds like we have some snow and rain potential this week and some very cold weather coming down into the U.S. So give us the rundown. What are things looking like here for the holiday week?
Yeah, Jesse, you mentioned you might get a chance to go see a Kansas City game, right? And it's funny you bring that up because the last time it was actually cold, kind of like this, was when Kansas City played the Dolphins a year ago, or not a year ago, less than that, back in January of 2024. We've got another Arctic outbreak coming, and it's being set up right now in the really cold air that's in southern Canada, where we've got snowpack. There's plenty of snowpack northern Montana, Red River Valley of the North, most of North Dakota, and then into southern Saskatchewan and Manitoba and parts of Ontario. And that is the storehouse of this colder air. So what's happened is a week ago, we just watched this onslaught of moisture coming into the west. We've loaded up several parts of the western mountain chains with heavy snows. We've got winter storm warnings out for parts of the central Rockies right now. And what's going to happen is all of that just tells you there's flow and there's cold, right? And those are the two things that are needed to get some of the white stuff to fly. So what do we have? We have a decent chance that by Wednesday afternoon and evening, we're going to watch a little system sneak out into the Central Plains, move toward Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. And that's going to be the one that I think that on Thursday, at some point on Thanksgiving, we should see some of the white stuff flying around in that area. Now, this isn't set. Some of the models are picking up on 0-inch snowfall amounts for that region. But one of the ones I tend to trust, which is the European model, it tends to have decent chances across those states. Now, that's the northern parts of those states, not the southern part of those states. It will be cold in the southern parts, but not cold enough for snow. So we do have this risk across parts of the Corn Belt. Now, that's where the smaller snowfall amounts are going to be. Go to the Rockies, they're going to get hammered. The central and southern Rockies are going to get hammered. Get downwind of the Great Lakes. We're going to see the lake effect snow machine cranking up on this Arctic air that's coming through. And I'm watching here low temperatures several times over the next 10 days, down into the single digits across the Corn Belt. In the northern Corn Belt, up in the northern plains, we should see overnight lows that could get below 0 with this Arctic air. And by the way, that's cold for February, right? So this tells you just how cold this air is that's coming through. But Jesse, to be honest with you, we all have the same question in the meteorological field right now. Does this just last? Like, are we just going to get beat up in December? And I don't think everything's set on it just yet. So I'll finish with one last thing. I told you about where the moisture is going to be, but there's a very large part of the whole United States that doesn't get any of this moisture. And that's where if you just go over to agweather.com, ag-wx.com, you can see the maps that show you, hey, I'm not getting any of this. It's going to be drier. For some folks, they might be working on Thanksgiving. I think about some of the guys in Iowa right now that's starting to get that anhydrous supplied. Well, the soil temps are now down below 50. No problem with that. And as we, look at the recent moisture that came in, we're going to be able to fold on top of it. They might be running in Iowa on Thanksgiving. You go in and stuff yourself and then run out and get the fields done before the really, really cold air comes marching in. So, yeah, this is going to be one of those weeks, I think, where a lot of folks are going to have to plan their operations and their eating around the weather.
Well, and I think to add to that, with a little bit of the uncertainty about how long the cold could last, et cetera, it does seem like we're going to see an active weather pattern continue well into December, right, Eric?
It is. But the question is, I don't know how long it's going to stay this cold. I really start to see some signals that would suggest that this is going to be one of these like highly volatile winter patterns. So, in contrast, right? Because you're like, okay, Eric, it's winter, it's volatile. Last year it wasn't. Do you remember? We just got mild, stay mild, got cold for the Kansas City Chiefs game against the Dolphins, came right back up mild, and we went all the way to spring with it mild and then got super wet. So there are some winters where we don't see that level of volatility. That's not this winter. There are too many pieces moving in the Pacific Ocean, and the North Atlantic, which is so warm, has me ready to tell you that you need to expect a jet stream pattern that's doing more of this rather than that. And as a result, I think that this is going to be a winter that's going to be challenging to predict week to week. Unlike last winter, where we're just like, it's another warmer than average week. It's another warmer than average week. And that's just how it was until we got to mid-January. So I think this is going to be a fun one to forecast, because you might wake up and all of us meteorologists have a different story the next day after we see one little piece of the whole atmosphere evolve in a direction that makes it more predictable. But that's it, man. That's my day to day. And when you try to predict the markets, it's the same thing, right? It's like, shoot, we just found out this new piece of information and everything's different. And I think that's the kind of winter we're dealing with here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's shift down to South America and update there. I know a lot of folks, especially for the markets, have been trying to find a bullish story with South American weather, but that just hasn't been the case here, has it, Eric?
No, and I'm here to ruin the day again, because what we had is big storms last night moved out of Argentina to southern Brazil. It's a little drier in northern Brazil, but they've been wet for weeks, so that's not going to be a problem. And then you've got the issue that all of the models have forecasted weather and average conditions for southern Brazil, northern Argentina. And if you wanted to find a spot that had been drier until last night's storms, it was that area. So it's kind of like, oh, we're going to take the rain and put it to the folks that need it now, and then it'll probably shift back north again. And the reality of it is when they start off with this much water, they tend to do just fine. Now, late December into January is the biggest wild card. That would be like our July and August rains on soybeans here. And could there be some disruption then? Possibly, but I don't have strong evidence to give you any sort of like rubber stamp it, it's going to happen type of a forecast now. So unfortunately, that means that the South American bullish story is still waiting somewhere off in the distance, and I don't have it today.
All right. Eric, anything final real quick before we let you go this week?
Yeah, I'll just tell you this. You're going to hear a lot of people as we get into December start to talk about their winter forecasts, myself included. I want you to be very careful of anybody that's going to blame this winter on La Nina. I think this La Nina is too weak to be a dominant force, and weak La Ninas have a much different flavor than those moderate to strong ones. They tend to not overly grab the pattern and hang on to it. So be careful of the attribution to one thing this winter. To be honest, I think there's about a dozen different things right now that are either going to constructively add or deconstructively work against each other for the next, I don't know, let's call it 16 weeks. So it's going to be a wild ride in terms of how things are going to go. But again, that's why I have the website, agweather.com. Get out there, see my latest thoughts, see all of the content for all of the maps, and you can watch it together or with me. So that's what I want you to do.
Definitely. Agweather.com, ag-wx.com. Also, conduit.ag for more info as well. Eric Snodgrass with Conduit. Thanks for joining us this week. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, have a good one, Jesse.